guys, so today I have swatches of, I actually put them back in the box that they got sent in, which I never do. I always just like throw the stuff away and never show it to you guys. But this is the China Glaze Fall Winter, well I guess that's, it just says Fall Winter, but it's a Fall 2018 collection. So there are 12 polishes here all together, and these are not really popping up as much as I'd like to think they should be by now. Like there's 6 of them on the Sally's website instead of all 12, which is weird. There's a 6-piece mini set on the Ulta website, but not the full collection, even though the Halloween collection is on the Ulta website already. But they are all on Head to Toe Beauty, Trans Design, places like that. So 12 polishes altogether, and I will get into the swatches. So the first polish is called Throwing Suede, and OPI. Huh, that was a long video, I'm still saying it. And China Glaze describes this as a soft blush pink cream. So this one is a bit sheer on that first coat. I'm going to tell you right now, this was the only one out of the collection that I really didn't like. I just didn't think it performed super well. It is a little bit streaky on that first coat. It actually looks good so far. When I did my swatch pictures, I had a real hard time with this. I think I re-swatched it even because it was looking so weird. Just a lot of dark spots and not wanting to build up. But it's a different day, it's a different room. Maybe that was an environmental issue. We'll find out. So formula on this feels pretty good. I think if you did too thick of a coat, it's definitely going to pool to the sides of the nail, but nothing crazy. So this one is starting to build up in 2 coats. I'm paying close attention to it because I really can't predict what it's going to do this time, because like that nail right there looks pretty good. So we're going to say that maybe the struggle I had when I did my pictures was humidity, because humidity can be a killer on making polishes perform weirdly, because this looks completely opaque in 2 coats. I'm going to let it dry all the way, because I think it's really close to needing 3, and it might need 3 after it's fully dried, but right now this is looking pretty good, which I'm actually happy about, because I didn't want to have to show such a bad polish on camera, and it certainly was not doing well in the humidity when I swatched it. So I'm going to let this fully dry before I call it, because I think it is really close to needing a 3rd coat, and I would hate to say it's only 2 and then have it dry all the way and look really streaky. So this is completely opaque in 2 coats even after it's dry. You guys don't understand. It was so bad when I swatched it. Like, I can't even believe this is the same bottle of polish, but that just goes to show you how much the environment and the humidity and the weather can affect how your polish goes on. So this is completely opaque for me in 2 coats. However, it is very, very close to needing a 3rd. So I think depending on your application, you might need 3 for this one. But that is 2 coats of Throwing Suede. The next polish is called Pleather Weather, and this is actually a matte jelly light gray. So matte and jelly is not something that I think I've seen before. What's nice about this is it's not one of those mattes that dry super, super fast. I think China Glaze has moved away from those, where now their mattes are really easy to apply. You're not like racing the clock trying to make sure that they go on well. So you can see this is a pretty sheer on that first coat. It does build up okay, but it's just so weird that it's a matte jelly. And while you do have more time to work with this than you would some of the first few mattes that China Glaze put out, you just don't want to be relatively quick, because you don't want to be working it as it's drying. Well, I mean, I guess you're always working it as it's drying, but you know what I mean. Good formula on this one as well. So you can see that this did dry fully matte. It is building up pretty well on that 2nd coat, but I definitely think it's going to need a 3rd. It does seem a little tiny bit uneven on that 2nd coat when it was like really even on the 1st, but I think that should all settle itself by the 3rd coat. And obviously, if you don't like the matte finish, you can always just put a top coat on. Looking at this, it is really close to being opaque in 2 coats. Mainly just my coats on my pointer finger and my pinky finger are a little bit thinner, so I can see through those. So I think this would be a good 2 or 3 coater, just depending on your application. I'm going to need 3. So this one does cover completely in the 3 coats, but you might only need 2, just depending on your application. And for my swatch pictures, I do have this with and without top coat. And I will say, I didn't think that you could have a matte polish that still had that kind of jelly look to it. I kind of thought that the matte finish would take that away completely, but it definitely still looks a little bit different. So that is 3 coats. kind of fully dried. I let it dry the same amount of time as the other coats, but by the third coat, I feel like the matte finish takes a little bit longer to show up. So this is 2 minutes of dry time, 3 coats of Pleather Weather. The next polish is called Mustard the Courage, which is described by China Glaze as, are you ready for this? A mustard cream. So this is pretty dang good in one coat. It's definitely not completely opaque, but it is surprisingly close. I mean, I know it's not like a pale yellow, but it is still yellow. So that's kind of impressive. Can you see my brush? It's got a little angle on it. It's a little weird. And good formula on this one as well. This is, I feel like it's a little tiny bit thin. Not so thin that it's bad, but just like, a little bit thin. Okay, I had to come back. Do you see on my ring finger? I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but this is one of those polishes that's going to run a little bit to the side of the nail if you do too thick of a coat. I think I had a little bit too much on my ring finger, and there's a little section along the left side of my nail here that has kind of like a, not like a blob because it's long, but like a line of slightly thicker polish where it's kind of collected right there. So, thinner coats with this one. So this one did dry a little bit more sheer than it applied, and it also dried a little bit darker. And I talked about that one nail pooling a little bit on the side. If you can catch that happening while it's still wet, you just need to take your like mostly polishless brush and kind of run over that section and scoop some of the extra polish off. You can avoid it if you notice it, but if you don't notice it, you'll have a little blob. It's not the end of the world, but it's just something to be aware of. So that is 2 coats of Mustard the Courage. So the next polish is called Sample Sizing Me Up, and I'm really glad I have the China Glaze website open because the PR labels, the labels that come on the bottom of the China Glaze bottles and you get them directly from China Glaze and PR, tend to have just like words dropped off the end of the names fairly often. So my label just says Sample Sizing Me. But anyway, according to the website, it's Sample Sizing Me Up, and this is described, it's just a blue cream. It's like, I don't know, it's like a little bit dusty. I feel like it's got a splash or 2 of gray in there. And this one is gloriously opaque in one coat. I don't think I could make this not opaque if I tried. It is a little bit thin. I am trying to be careful to make sure that I don't do too thick of a coat and have it move around on the nail on me, but even trying to thin my coat out, it's still completely opaque. And other than the slight thinness, it does apply pretty well. So that is 1 coat of Sample Sizing Me Up. So the next polish and the last cream until the very end is called Central Parka, and this is an olive green cream. So this one is actually really close to being opaque in one coat, just not quite there for me. Just have a few light spots, and I am trying to, again, thin the coats out a bit. The formula feels a little bit thin, and I just want to make sure I don't have so much on my nail that it moves around. Even then, though, I'd still consider it a good formula. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats, and it doesn't really seem to change the color at all once that second coat is on there, but I do feel like it's drying just a little tiny bit darker than it applies. And what do I say when I run out of things to say and I'm still on the ring finger? It dries pretty shiny. Cut me some slack here. I can't write a novel about all of them. So that is 2 coats of Central Parka. The next polish is called Chic Happens, and this is described as a purple gray metallic, which is actually pretty accurate. So this one is slightly frosty. It is a little bit sheer on that first coat. It does have some brush strokes in there. They're not absolutely terrible, so there's a good chance they will go away after it dries, or at least somewhat. And good formula on this one as well. This is one that I feel like once you've used it a couple times and the bottle thickens a little bit, you probably can get away with 1 coat. And I am trying to do those brush strokes as straight as possible, just in case they don't go away, because I don't remember. So the brush strokes that were in here did level themselves out, or did kind of dissipate pretty well. There's still a few, but you have to look really close for them. And you can kind of see the difference between the metallic finish. It's not like a mirror polish, but it gets a little more mirror-ish after it's dry. Also, looking very, very closely at this, I don't really think I needed this second coat. I couldn't really find too many light spots. There's one spot in the corner of this nail that I could kind of see through, but I had to have it right up to my face. So I think depending on your application, you could probably get away with this in one coat. So that is 2 coats of Chic Happens. The next polish is called Swatch Out, and this is described as a copper shimmer. And this is super sparkly, very, very bright, very sparkly. The particles that are in here are big enough that you really don't have any brush strokes. I guess you can see some, but those will go away when it dries. And this is the kind of polish that every time I swatch one that's really bright and really sparkly like this and look at it, I just love it, but then I never actually wear it. And good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. This is another one that was really, really close to a 1-coater, and I think a lot of people could probably get away with it as a 1-coater. You can see the difference between a wet coat and a dry coat with the brush strokes. It's very smooth and very bright once it's dry. And it has these little sparkly particles in it as well. I guess they don't really stand out too much until it dries. So that is 2 coats of Swatch Out. The next polish is called Haute Blooded, and this is they just say it's a dark red matte, but it's a shimmery red matte. And I don't know about you guys, but I really love shimmery mattes. And this one is also a pretty solid 1-coater. I can see where you might need to, no, I don't really think so. I think if you did an extremely thin coat, you might have some bald spots, but I actually think that would take some effort. I am trying to avoid brush strokes through that shimmer, so I'm trying to make them as straight as possible. I also don't want to work with this too much because I don't want it to get lumpy, which is what can happen if you're still swiping a matte polish when it gets into the end stages of drying as it starts to turn matte. This one doesn't dry so fast that you could easily mess it up. I don't think so anyway, but it definitely dries faster than Pleather Weather did. So that is 1 coat fully dry of Haute Blooded. The next polish is called Best Friends, and this is described as a green-gray shimmer. And this one has a lot of sparkle to it. It is a bit sheer on that first coat, but I see virtually no brush strokes, and it does seem to be covering very evenly. Good formula on this one as well. I think it's not right now, but I could definitely see where this one has the potential to be kind of a thick monster after a little while. It's almost like, have you ever had polishes that are kind of a little bit thick and you can feel that there's a lot of polish in the brush. There's a lot sticking to the brush and it makes the brush almost a little bit wider than it normally is. While the formula on this one feels good right now, I can tell that the brush is kind of plumped up from the polish in it. That could mean nothing, just saying. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. And this color is really cool. They called it green gray. I could totally see that in the bottle, but now that it's on the nail, I just see blue, blue gray. It's probably going to depend on the lighting. And this looks really glittery, but it's not anything chunky at all, so it's not going to pose any problems with texture or removal. So that is 2 coats of Best Friends. So the next polish is called Pay It Fashion Forward. This is described as a purple glitter. This is not a glitter polish. It looks like a nice deep purple shimmer with a few larger shimmery particles in there, but not what I would consider glitter because it's not going to be chunky at all on the nails. So this one is a little bit sheer on that first coat. It does cover pretty evenly though. It's hard to tell just by looking at my viewfinder, but I'm not sure if the sheerness is really showing on camera, but I do just have a few light spots. And a good formula on this one as well. I don't think that it's too thick, but it definitely has that kind of plumped up brush feel that the last one did. I think this one could get thick pretty easily. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. It does maybe deepen the color a little bit, but this is one that if you look really closely at it on that first coat, I think you could probably get away with one if you really wanted to, but you do seem to have a little bit deeper of a color here in too, and that deeper color helps that shimmer really stand out as well. And this one does dry just a little bit dull. So that is 2 coats of Pay It Fashion Forward. So the next polish is called Aut-umm, I Need That, and this is another one that had the name dropped off the label, so I'm glad I looked this up. But this, or had one word dropped off the label. This is described as a brown gold shimmer. This has like a brownish burgundy jelly base, and then a ton of color shifting shimmer that looks like it goes from orange to gold to green. So this is, oh wow, I splattered it everywhere. This is a little bit sheer on that first coat. You can see that shimmer in there pretty well. It's definitely going to take 2 coats to build up. And it's definitely a little thick right there. Hopefully it's not so dry that I can't fix it. And good formula on this one as well. This is one where you definitely want to try to do a thinner coat so it doesn't move around on the nail. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats, and it builds that base up quite a bit. Really helps that shimmer stand out as well. I think, you might end up needing 3 coats for some light spots with this one, but I kind of doubt it. And that shimmer that's in there, that was not enough polish to cover that nail. That shimmer that's in there, and that's too much, Lord, is not textured at all, so it's not going to be difficult to remove. It's not going to need a top coat to cover it up. I mean, you should wear a top coat anyway, but the glitter shouldn't give you any problems because it's shimmer, not glitter. So that is 2 coats of Aut-umm, I Need That. And the last polish is called You Don't Know Jacket, and this is a very dark navy blue cream. So oh yes, this one is completely opaque on the first coat, and I can see where you might need 2 depending on your application, but I think I'm going to be able to get it opaque in 1 pretty easily. And having a long swatch marathon and it being almost lunchtime and the last polish is a 1-coater is just like the best feeling in the world. Good formula on this one as well. I think if you do thinner coats or if you work the polish a little bit more, you might end up needing 2 coats to cover up some light spots, but I'm not having too hard of a time getting it opaque in 1. So that is 1 coat of You Don't Know Jacket. I should also add, I got so hungry for lunch that I tried to rush it. This is one of those polishes that I think could be confused for black in certain lightings. To me, in this lighting, it's looking really obviously dark blue, but I can see where it could look black in other situations. This collection and the Essie fall collection are, I think, for sure my favorite mainstream collections for fall this year. I think it's interesting that this is going to sound real shady. I'm going to be kind of an a-hole here. I feel like Essie got more variety in 6 polishes than OPI and Zoya did in 12, which is kind of bad. So, but I also like, that's the reason that I really like the China Glaze fall collection as well, is because there was a variety in colors, variety in finishes. There was a lot to choose from here. So that being said, I'm probably going to pick the same ones for my favorites that I have picked, like the same shades that I picked in like every video that I've filmed today. Central Parka, which is a really nice olive green, and Mustard the Courage, mustard yellow, because these are like the perfect fall colors. But in reality, I could have picked like 3 or 4 more as favorites from this collection. I really, really like this over most of the other collections that have come out this year. So that is the China Glaze Fall 2018 collection. They're weird to find right now for some reason, but I know for sure that they're on headtotoebeauty.com and Trans Design and probably 88 Beauty as well. I haven't actually checked those 2, but usually if they're on Head to Toe, they're on the other 2 also, you know, in relatively the same period of time. So hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.